Welcome to PraDa Law Live, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Jackie Mendez. We have a great show for you guys today. We're going to be talking criminal law, and we're going to talk a little bit about family law. And before I introduce our attorneys, I just want to remind everyone that the call, the show is live, so you can call in at any time that you'd like. The number's on the screen, 888-88-LEGAL. And let's go ahead and introduce our attorneys. First up, we have Mike Haber.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
He'll be discussing criminal law today. And next up, we have one of our partners, Daniel Silver.
Always a pleasure to be back. Thanks, Jackie.
He'll be talking a little bit about family law today. And of course, the lovely Jennifer Pratt.
Good evening. Thank you, Jackie. It's a pleasure to be here with everyone today.
And once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is a live show. So give us a call anytime during the show, 888-88-LEGAL. Also, give us a call anytime because the consultation is free, the call is free, and we are ready to answer any questions you may have. Isn't that right, Jennifer?
That's right, Jackie. You have absolutely nothing to lose. And on today's show, we have our criminal attorney, Michael Haber, here. We've got our family attorney, Daniel Silver. We're going to be talking about family and criminal cases. And we want to call this show the Get Out of Jail Free Card Show. How do we avoid ending up in jail when you're seeing yourself with a family case or a criminal case? And we've got some amazing attorneys here today with us to help us navigate through that. Attorney Silver, Attorney Haber, welcome again to the show. Prior to the show, you guys were telling me that there are some tips that you wanted to share with our audience regarding staying out of jail. Talk to me, gentlemen. How do we stay out of jail? I don't want to go to jail. People don't want to go to jail.
Well, throwing it to me, if you don't mind, Dan and I were talking about kind of the intersection between family and criminal and jail, and all of the different ways that we can think of that a family court litigant might find themselves looking at a jail cell.
Okay, so you're saying someone in a family case can end up in jail?
Absolutely. Person in family court, even though you're in civil court, if you have a domestic support obligation and you don't pay that support obligation and you have the ability to pay, well, you could find yourself in a jailhouse.
All right, take it away, Mr. Haber.
And lots of people wind up getting picked up on what they call these support warrants. They're actually called writs of bodily attachment. It's basically an arrest warrant that's issued by a family court or a civil court judge commanding that a certain person be taken into custody and held to be brought before that family court judge, and those are done when support obligations are not met,
Or if you miss a court hearing.
Or if you miss a court hearing,
Who
pick up
picks
order.
you up? Like an actual attorney, like an attorney, a police officer?
Not the attorney. No. The sheriff. The sheriff or the police officer.
He'll come to your house?
He could. Oh, yeah. They have all the discretion in the world to come pick you up, don't they?
And it could happen in a variety of ways. The way that I most commonly see it is in the form of a basic unexpected circumstance, like a traffic stop. You get pulled over for speeding, they run your driver's license number, and bam, that thing pops up. Next thing you know, you're in handcuffs and you're being taken to the jail.
Even for the civil one?
Right. They call it an AC. It's an alias capia. So yeah, it's basically a bench warrant that's somehow, some way in the state of Florida, a judge was supposed to see you. You didn't appear, and now the judge is going to compel your attendance.
Well, and that would be for a failure to appear, but also we were talking about the support obligation. So if there's a writ of bodily attachment or an arrest warrant that's issued for a failure to pay child support or alimony, then that's going to be an independent warrant, and that traffic stop where you might have walked away with a warning or a speeding ticket, instead you wind up in custody and being booked into the local jail.
Just to be brought before that judge.
Wow. Okay, well, we're going to definitely get back to all that really quick, but I would just want to remind everyone that's watching at home, this is a live show, and you can call in at any time. The consultation is free. We have attorneys ready to answer any questions you may have. We're ready to find some solutions for you. And Jennifer, let's continue this conversation.
We want to keep you out of jail. The number to dial is right on the screen. We make the number easy so that if you find yourself in one of these unfortunate situations, you can give us a call immediately, and that's why the call is free, 888-88-LEGAL. The number's on the screen. All right. Gentlemen, so I'm not understanding this, and I just want to make sure that the public understands this, because I think people have heard of losing their license, maybe even getting their passport revoked because of arrears with child support. But you're saying there could literally be an order out there for either missing a hearing or not paying my child support or alimony that could lead me to getting literally detained by an officer, and then what happens? Do I go to jail, Attorney Haber?
Well, the answer is yes, you're going to jail if there's a warrant with your name on it. I don't care what they call it. And as Dan said, it could be an alias capias, it could be a writ of bodily attachment, it could be an arrest warrant, it could be whatever they want to call it. But if it appears, if you are red flagged, you are going to jail.
Let's say, for example, there's already a support order, and you're supposed to pay $1,000 a month in alimony.
And just so everyone knows, support orders like child support or alimony.
Child support,
okay.
alimony. You're supposed to pay this. You don't pay it for months on end. There's a court hearing, and the court finds basically that you're in contempt of court because you haven't paid this money. The next step is to determine whether or not it's willful and intentional, which means, do you have the money? There's a phrase in family court. It says the contemptor has the keys to his own jail cell. So basically, if you are ordered to pay $10,000 and you don't have it, there's no debtor's prison in the state of Florida. But if you have $10,000 in a retirement account, there's plenty of case law that says a retirement account is not a safe haven where you can just keep money and not pay your support obligation.
Wow. Okay. Well, 888-88-LEGAL. Give us a call.
I would just tack on to that in many of these support obligation cases, unlike a regular warrant that would be issued, let's say, by a criminal court judge for whatever purpose, in a lot of these family court cases, the issue and the object is for the person to be paid. So they put in what's called a purge amount. And that means that the minute that you get booked into the jail, if you post whatever the purge amount is, it's not a bond because you're not being charged with a crime, but if you pay the purge, they let you out of jail. So like Dan said, you have the keys to the jail cell in your own bank account.
So it's not like criminal where I'm booked. Am I booked?
Yes. Yes.
My fingerprints are taken?
Yes.
Oh my God.
And I can leave jail if that purge amount is paid.
Right, and that's why people will usually find a way to come up with a purge. And also, look, a judge is not going to, if $10,000 in child support is owed, they're not going to set a ridiculous purge. The purge has to, the contemptor has to have the ability to pay the purge.
Right. Okay.
You have the keys to your own jail cell.
All right. Look at that. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we don't want you guys to go to jail, but, we definitely want you to know your rights. So if you do get in trouble this weekend or, at any time, give us a call, 888-88-LEGAL. We have some of the most, professional lawyers ready to help you.
That's right, Jackie. And we're going to be taking a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue speaking on the intersection between criminal law and family law. We'll be right back.
I know you're home right now asking yourself, how? How will I pay my rent, my mortgage, my bills, my credit card debt? I'm attorney Alexis Garcia with PraDa Law. I've personally helped people with financial problems over the last 10 years. I understand what you are going through. We saw people lose it all in the 2008 financial crisis. You don't have to lose it all. The consultation is free. Call us now. I will help protect what you have built. You have nothing to lose by calling us. Call us now. These are trying times. This deadly virus is affecting our health, economy, jobs, our small business owners. Bankruptcy protection may be able to save assets and immediately stop your creditors from harassing you. Small business owners, employees of business of any size, we know you need help. Call us now. We will help you get back on your feet. Don't wait until it's too late. This is the time to call.
Sé que estás en la casa ahora mismo preguntándote, ¿cómo voy a pagar la hipoteca, la renta, los biles, las tarjetas de crédito? Soy la abogada Jennifer Pratt con PraDa Law. Yo personalmente he ayudado a las personas con problemas financieros durante los últimos 10 años. Yo entiendo por lo que estás pasando. Vimos cómo la gente lo perdió todo durante la crisis financiera del 2008. No tienes que perderlo todo. Llama ahora. La consulta es gratis. Te ayudaremos a proteger todo lo que has construido durante todos estos años. Sabemos que estos son tiempos difíciles. Este virus mortal está amenazando nuestra salud, nuestra economía, nuestros empleos y a los propietarios de nuestras pequeñas empresas. La consulta es gratis. Llame ahora. Te ayudaremos a recuperarte. No esperes hasta que sea demasiado tarde. Llame ya.
And welcome back to PraDa Law Live once again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jackie Mendez. We've been talking a little bit about criminal law, a little bit about family law, and how both of those, how they both meet, essentially, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, there's a number on the screen. We want you to call it. The show's live. You can call in at any time. The consultation is free. It's 888-LEGAL. Isn't that right, Jennifer?
That's right, Jackie. Nothing to lose. First consultation is free. And right before the break, we were talking about our get out of jail free card. We do not want our listeners, our viewers, to be in jail for any reason. And that's why we have Attorney Silver on the family side and Attorney Haber here with us today to discuss these topics. Attorney Silver, before the break, or during the break, I should say, you mentioned to me that not all is lost. People, especially in the family context, there are ways to avoid jail. Talk to us about that.
Well, one thing I was talking about is that if you find yourself on the position where you are under a support obligation for child support and alimony, and because of COVID, you've lost your job, well, if you don't do anything, that support obligation is just going to continue to accrue. If you have a substantial change in circumstances due to COVID, you can file for modification and make sure that your child support or an alimony is reduced and you're not on the end of a contempt order.
So you're saying if I'm someone that is obligated to pay child support and or alimony, but I've lost my job, they've reduced my hours, I got sick, anything that's involuntary, I can move to modify?
And you want to do that before the other side files for contempt because you're not paying.
Sometimes we call it being proactive instead of reactive, right? Because you can wait for them to come to you and then deal with it defensively, or you can bring it to the court and deal with it offensively.
Oh, you mean like my husband?
We get out in front of it. We get out in front of it.
But
I didn't get that.
so
Okay, good. Let's move on.
But there are a lot of other ways that you can wind up as a family court litigant in front of a jail cell. You know, for example, apart from contempt issues for failure to make your support obligation, if you have a domestic restraining order against you and you violate that restraining order, you've not only got a contempt problem in front of the judge who issued the restraining order, but you actually commit a brand new criminal offense for which you can be prosecuted.
It might be time to move on.
Yeah, well, it usually is. Yeah, nothing says I love you like violating that restraining order. And then of course another way that you could do that, and Dan and I were battling this around, but there is a standard anybody who gets put on probation in Florida is subject to certain standard conditions. They apply statewide, and they're by statute.
And now we're talking criminal, because obviously in the family context, you're never put on probation, correct?
That's correct, but it does dovetail into family to the extent that this particular condition, statute is 94803(1)H, and it says that anybody who's on probation in the state of Florida has an obligation as a condition of probation to support their dependents. So that becomes very important too. And there may not be a support order from family court, but now you've got a criminal court order that requires you to support your dependents.
Okay, so let's be proactive, ladies and gentlemen, and call that number on the screen, 888-88-LEGAL. Calls free, consultations free. Give us a buzz.
Absolutely. You want to be proactive in these cases. You don't want to wind up in the situations that Attorney Haber and Attorney Silver are speaking about. But if you or someone you love and care about are in this situation, give us a call. We have Attorney Silver here on the family end. We have Attorney Haber on the criminal end. And we're here to help get you out of this trouble. Attorney Silver, going back to the family context, talk to us about what does it mean to be held in contempt. You said that word earlier, and I know we've thrown that word around before. And then I want to know from Attorney Haber, does that exist in the criminal context as well?
So contempt basically means that there's an order of the court that's been entered. You have knowledge, and even though you have knowledge of the order, you are willfully and intentionally violating the court order. Therefore, you are in contempt. There's a special rule in family court, 12.6.5 if we want to just rattle off numbers. But it's basically civil contempt in support matters. And basically what it says is when there's an order of the court that says you pay support, there's a presumption you have the ability to pay it. And if you don't pay, well, now you're on the defense.
Because I want to be clear, Attorney Silver and Jackie, I know you're urgent to ask this question. You don't go to jail in America for not paying child support or alimony. You go to jail for not doing what, Attorney Silver?
For willfully not paying. So for example, if you owe $10,000 in back child support and you have $100,000 in your retirement account and you just tell the judge, well, you know, it's kind of in my retirement account, so that's not money that's really supposed to be available for anyone but me, that is not a defense, and a court will basically say that welcome to jail, and here's your cell. And the second you sign those papers to transfer that retirement account money and get it paid, then you can leave.
You have willfully acknowledge that you don't want to pay this. Exactly.
Right, but you have the ability to pay, and you're just telling the court, no, I'm not going to pay because I don't feel like it. When judges issue orders, they have to be followed, and judges have lots of power to enforce those orders.
Right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, once again, 888-88-LEGAL. That's the number you want to call to find out all these solutions. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
And when we come back from the break, I want to talk to Attorney Haber about whether the concept of contempt exists in criminal. And I also want to touch base with him again about these violation of probation situations and how those hearings are different from other criminal hearings that happen in any particular criminal case. We'll be right back after the break.
I know you're home right now asking yourself, how? How will I pay my rent, my mortgage, my bills, my credit card debt? I'm attorney Alexis Garcia with PraDa Law. I've personally helped people with financial problems over the last 10 years. I understand what you are going through. We saw people lose it all in the 2008 financial crisis. You don't have to lose it all. The consultation is free. Call us now. I will help protect what you have built. You have nothing to lose by calling us. Call us now. These are trying times. This deadly virus is affecting our health, economy, jobs, our small business owners. Bankruptcy protection may be able to save assets and immediately stop your creditors from harassing you. Small business owners, employees of business of any size, we know you need help. Call us now. We will help you get back on your feet. Don't wait until it's too late. This is the time to call.
Sé que estás en la casa ahora mismo preguntándote, ¿cómo? ¿Cómo voy a pagar la hipoteca, la renta, los biles, las tarjetas de crédito? Soy la abogada Jennifer Pratt con PraDa Law. Yo personalmente he ayudado a las personas con problemas financieros durante los últimos 10 años. Yo entiendo por lo que estás pasando. Vimos cómo la gente lo perdió todo durante la crisis financiera del 2008. No tienes que perderlo todo. Llama ahora. La consulta es gratis. Te ayudaremos a proteger todo lo que has construido durante todos estos años. Sabemos que estos son tiempos difíciles. Este virus mortal está amenazando nuestra salud, nuestra economía, nuestros empleos y a los propietarios de nuestras pequeñas empresas. La consulta es gratis. Llame ahora. Te ayudaremos a recuperarte. No esperes hasta que sea demasiado tarde. Llame ya.
And welcome back to PraDa Law Live, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jackie Mendez, and I can't believe the show is almost over. This is the last segment, but we definitely want to get back into the conversation. We've been talking criminal law. We've been talking family law. The show is live. Give us a call anytime during the show, 888-88-LEGAL. I'm going to take it over to Jennifer. So
Thank you, Jackie. And before the break, we were talking quickly about violations of probations and whether the concept of contempt exists in criminal. Attorney Haber?
The answer is yes. There is contempt in criminal, and you can find yourself in it very easily. Basically, you need to do what the judge tells you to do when the judge tells you to do it, and sometimes more importantly, you need to not do what the judge tells you not to do. As far as VOP goes, that's a whole different topic, but I can just say that violations of probation are very different than criminal trials. There's no juries. The burden of proof is significantly lower. Hearsay is admissible. It's very probation. They call it a setup, and it is a setup.
I've heard more a slow plea of guilty.
Yeah, well, it could be, depending on where you're at. But one of the things that Dan and I talked about that I think was really important, that the dovetail between family and criminal, is Florida is what we call a two-party consent state when it comes to recordings. It is a crime in the state of Florida. It is a third-degree felony to surreptitiously record somebody's conversations without their knowledge and consent. And this happens very often in family cases. I see it on the criminal end. I'm sure that Dan sees it plenty on his end, where one spouse, must say to him, hey, Mr. Silver, is it okay for me to videotape or record the conversations between our child and the other spouse,
or
right?
time-sharing exchanges.
Time-sharing exchanges are, I've had more criminal cases off of when daddy drops the child off to mommy or mommy drops the child off to daddy than any other context.
Even if they're in a public place, though? Like if we're dropping the child off at a gas station, you're saying I can't just record the exchange?
You absolutely can record the exchange. Whether or not the statements that someone makes are admissible is a different story. But I've had very high conflict cases, and I've literally instructed my client to show up with an exchange wearing a helmet and a GoPro camera and saying, I'm recording everything.
So, but that's the key, right? The key is that the other party needs to not only know that they're being recorded, but consent to being recorded. So, I mean, forget family.
In a public place?
Yes.
Even in a public place, unless there's no reasonable expectation of privacy. So that's kind of the exception to the rule, right? So if we're having a conversation in a crowded environment around other people, that's not going to be considered privileged. But let's say that the four of us are out at a restaurant having a conversation, and I lean over and whisper something into Jackie's ear that's not intended for either of you attorneys to hear. That would be considered a privileged statement between, well, privilege maybe is not the right word, a confidential statement between Jackie and me that you were not intended to know. So dovetailing that into recording, that's kind of how you have to look at it. Was the intent of the statement private? And that kind of dovetails into a whole different topic that Dan and I were discussing, which is a thing called the spousal privilege, meaning one spouse can prevent the other spouse from testifying as to privileged conversations between the spouses during the course of the marriage.
So can you elaborate? I'm sorry, I don't really understand that part.
Well, let me help you out. So when two people are married, there's a privilege. So statements between the two of them, as long as you're not used to promote a crime or, either way, the statements between the spouses are privileged, and basically one spouse can prohibit the other spouse from testifying as to the statements made between the two of them.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions regarding that, the number to call is 888-88-LEGAL, because we're ready to help you.
And in fact, we've had cases in the office, and I've seen it oftentimes, where they have a boyfriend and a girlfriend, right? But they're living together, they've been together for many years, and we know that the boyfriend or the girlfriend know about the alleged crimes that one of the parties are being accused of. And one of the things we always fear is that that girlfriend or boyfriend could be subpoenaed to testify.
They should get married.
Exactly, exactly, because you are in this beautiful relationship, but you're not married, right. And so anything this gentleman or woman tells you, the state could subpoena you, and you may be forced to testify against your lover.
Wow.
Isn't that so?
There are some circumstances where you can be compelled to testify anyhow. You can't invoke privilege. So, for example, if my spouse and I have a domestic situation and I get arrested for a domestic violence crime, I can't invoke the privilege and prevent her from testifying as a state's witness.
But also, if you guys are suing each other in civil court over some other dispute.
Correct. So that would be another example of an exemption to the privilege. If there's a civil dispute, a lawsuit between the two spouses, the privilege isn't going to apply. But let's say that there's a third-party dispute, right? They would be able to compel a spouse to testify as to acts, as to events, but not as to words, because the privilege is to language, it's to conversations, it's not to actions. So, for example, if the state wanted to disprove an alibi offense, right, an alibi defense, I wanted to say that I was home with my wife, but the state was able to prove that my wife was in Aruba, that would be a problem. I can't prevent her from being listed as a state's witness. I could prevent her from disclosing the conversations that we might have had, but not the acts that she is a witness to.
Okay, thank you so much, Attorney Haber. Ladies and gentlemen, give us a call. The consultation is free, 888-88-LEGAL.
Gentlemen, we have about 30 seconds before the show wraps up. Is there anything else you want to say before the show's over regarding some of the topics that we've discussed? And I realize we could be talking about this for hours.
Well, when it comes to safely having time-sharing exchanges, record everything and tell the other person you're recording.
Okay.
Attorney Haber?
I agree completely. Disclose, disclose, disclose. There's a reason why when you call customer service lines, you always hear that recording, that you're being recorded. They're telling you that because you need to know you're being recorded.
Well, thank you so much, Attorney Haber, Attorney Silver, and of course, Attorney Pratt. Ladies and gentlemen, this is PraDa Law Live, and I'm Jackie Mendez. We'll see you guys next time. Give us a call, though, 888-88-LEGAL. Thank you so much.